An hour and a half. That's how long they made him wait before the CEO finally walked in and changed everything. The glass doors of Highland Crest Bank slid open, releasing a rush of cool air onto the sidewalk. The smell of fresh coffee mixed with the polish of leather furniture, creating an atmosphere of quiet precision. Dorian Bennett stepped inside, adjusting his blazer. He wasn't nervous. He'd built companies, signed deals, and earned his place in any room. He just needed them to see it. His meeting was set for 11 a.m. sharp. No reason to expect anything but professionalism. The lobby was a perfect mix of modern design and old-world wealth, mahogany desks, glass partitions, and gold accents that caught the light just right. The receptionist, a woman with a neat bun and calm detachment, looked up as he approached. Her nameplate read Melissa. "Welcome to Highland Crest Bank," she said automatically. "Do you have an appointment?" "Dorian Bennett," he replied, placing his leather portfolio on the counter. "Meeting with Linda Kramer at 11. Melissa tapped on her keyboard. "You're on the schedule," she said. "You can have a seat. She'll be with you soon." Dorian nodded and sat by the tall windows, where sunlight cut across the floor in clean lines. A group of professionals chatted nearby about markets and investments, the kind of talk that came easy to people who belonged. He checked his watch, 10 a.m. Early as always. Time passed. 11:05, 11:15. At first, he didn't mind. Delays happened. But after 20 minutes, he began to notice the pattern. A man in a gray suit checked in, and within minutes, someone came to escort him inside. Then a woman in a cream blazer arrived, chatted casually with Melissa, and was also led through the glass doors. Dorian's name never came up. By 11:30, something was clearly off. His fingers tapped the briefcase beside him as people came and went. Some were greeted warmly, ushered in without delay. He stayed waiting, his confirmed appointment forgotten. Still, he remained calm. He'd seen this kind of thing before, the quiet kind of dismissal people could easily excuse. "Sorry for the wait, must have been a mix-up." Always polite, always convenient. Finally, he stood and walked back to the desk. "Excuse me," he said evenly. "Has Linda Kramer been told that I'm waiting?" Melissa sighed, glancing at her screen. "She knows," she said. "She's just finishing with another client." He waited for more, an update, maybe an apology. But she said nothing else. "Do you have an estimate on when she'll be available?" he asked, keeping his voice controlled. Melissa shrugged, barely looking up. "Shouldn't be much longer." Dorian exhaled slowly, steadying himself. It wasn't just what she said, it was how she said it. No urgency, no effort to check, just another brushed-off answer meant to quiet him. Then it happened again, right in front of him. A woman in a navy blue dress walked in, her designer handbag swinging at her side, still talking casually on the phone. Melissa's posture changed instantly. Her tone softened, her lips curved into a real smile. "Good morning, Mrs. Lancaster," she said warmly. The woman gave a polite nod, and within seconds, a young banker appeared to escort her through the frosted glass doors. No waiting, no questions, no soon. Dorian let out a quiet breath. He'd been waiting almost an hour. She'd been there less than a minute. He turned to the desk. "So," he said calmly, "do appointments matter here, or is it just first come, first served?" For the first time, Melissa looked uneasy. "I told you, sir, she'll be with you soon." There it was again, soon. A word that meant nothing. A polite way to dismiss someone without saying it. Dorian looked toward the doors. He could sit down and wait longer, pretend this wasn't happening, but it wasn't about waiting anymore. It was about being ignored. He sat back down, trying to stay calm. He'd built a company from nothing, dealt with investors who didn't believe in him, faced men who underestimated him. But this felt different. This wasn't about business. It was about being dismissed like he didn't matter. He checked his watch, 12:05 p.m. Over an hour. Everyone who had come in after him had been helped, escorted inside, or at least acknowledged. Except him. Across the lobby, a young teller spoke with an older man in khakis and a golf shirt. "Yeah, I told her to just walk in," the man said with a laugh. "She doesn't even need an appointment. You know how it is." The teller chuckled. "For Mrs. Lancaster, we always make exceptions." Dorian's hand tightened around his briefcase. So that was it, different rules for different people. He leaned forward, staring at the floor. This was a test. Would he sit quietly and accept being pushed aside, or remind them his time mattered too? He stood, calm, steady, and walked past the front desk. "Sir," Melissa started, but he didn't stop. He pushed open the frosted doors. The hallway was lined with offices, some open, some closed. And there she was, Linda Kramer, sitting at her desk, alone, typing on her laptop. She looked up, surprise flashing into irritation. "Mr. Bennett," she said sharply, "you should have waited to be called." "I did wait," Dorian replied evenly. Her lips pressed into a thin line. "Please, take a seat," she said finally. Dorian sat, not because she said so, but because he chose to. Something told him this meeting wouldn't go the way she expected. Linda straightened her papers, keeping her face neutral, but Dorian saw it, the slight tension in her jaw, the first crack in her composure. There was a flicker of irritation in her eyes. "I apologize for the delay," Linda said, forcing a smile. "We've been extremely busy today." "Busy?" Dorian repeated quietly. He had watched at least 6 people walk past him while he waited for over an hour and a half. "Were you?" he asked calmly. "Because I saw a few clients who didn't have to wait at all, some without appointments." Linda's lips pressed into a thin line. "I assure you, Mr. Bennett, that wasn't intentional. There must have been a miscommunication." "A miscommunication," Dorian said softly, his expression unreadable. "Interesting." Linda cleared her throat, eager to move on. She opened a folder and began to speak again. "Now, let's discuss your loan application. I've reviewed it, and while your finances are impressive, we have strict approval criteria. Given the current lending climate, I'm afraid we'll need more assurances before we can proceed." Before she could finish, the door opened. The mood in the room changed instantly. The quiet hallway outside filled with low, commanding voices. 3 men entered, all wearing sharp suits, clearly the kind of people who made the real decisions here. At the front was Richard Langford, the CEO of Highland Crest Bank, and a man who definitely knew who Dorian was. Richard's eyes scanned the room before landing on him. A smile spread across his face. "Dorian, what the hell are you doing here?" Linda froze. Dorian stood, shaking his hand firmly. "Hey, Richard," he said. "It's been a while." "It has," Richard replied, clapping him on the shoulder. "You still running Bennett Strategies?" "Still growing it," Dorian said with a calm smile. Linda's hands tightened around her folder. Richard's expression hardened as he looked at her. "How long has Dorian been waiting?" he asked. The room went silent. Linda opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Dorian didn't rush to answer. He let the pause linger. "About an hour and a half," he said finally. Richard's jaw tightened slightly. "An hour and a half," he repeated. "You had Dorian Bennett waiting for an hour and a half." Linda stuttered. There was this scheduling issue. Richard didn't look at her. His focus stayed on Dorian. "You should have called me directly," he said. "I would have made sure you were taken care of." Dorian gave a small, knowing smile. "Didn't think I needed to." Richard exhaled, shaking his head. He turned back to Linda, his tone suddenly cold. "Linda," he said, "step outside for a moment." Her face went pale. "Of course," she said quietly, standing and leaving the room. When the door closed, the tension stayed. Richard sat across from Dorian, shaking his head. The other 2 executives stood silently behind him. "This isn't how we do things here," Richard said finally, his voice steady. Dorian tilted his head slightly, saying nothing. "Seems like it is," Dorian said. Richard didn't argue. He knew something had gone wrong, and was already thinking about how big the problem was. Dorian wasn't just another client. He had built a successful consulting firm, and his name carried weight. Now, he had a story to tell. Richard leaned back. "Tell me what happened." Dorian told him everything. The appointment, the long wait, how others were served before him, and how Linda brushed him off. Richard listened quietly. When Dorian finished, he sighed. "I appreciate you telling me," he said. "And honestly, I'm pissed." "Why?" Dorian asked. "Because this kind of thing ruins reputations," Richard replied. "We've worked hard to build trust, and now I have to fix a mess I didn't even know about." He turned to an executive. "Get Linda off the floor. We'll talk later." The man nodded and left. Richard looked back at Dorian. "Your loan application, it's solid?" "See for yourself," Dorian said, tapping his briefcase. Richard flipped through it, shaking his head. This should have been approved immediately. He turned to another executive. "Fast track it. I want it done today." "Just like that?" Dorian asked. "You should have had it 2 hours ago," Richard said. "I'm fixing the mistake." Dorian knew what this was. Not kindness, just damage control. Still, He said, I'll take the approval, but fixing mine doesn't fix the real problem. Richard's eyes hardened. We'll talk about that, he said. Dorian stood, nodded, and walked out. Before leaving, he glanced at Melissa. She didn't look so confident anymore. Outside, the summer heat hit him. The bank's glass walls shone, but inside, cracks had formed. This wasn't just about a loan or Linda. It was about something bigger, quiet bias, polite dismissals, the belief that some people belong while others wait. Not today. Today, someone faced the consequences. Dorian checked his phone, loan approved. He smiled. Respect isn't given. It's earned. And today he got what he came for. If you've ever been treated like your time or presence didn't matter, speak up. Don't wait for permission. Take your place, and if they make you wait, make sure they remember why that was a mistake.